Hi, you guys. My name is Chloe. Of course, as you saw, I currently live in Ann Arbor in Michigan, and I lived in a city in Spain about an hour drive inland of Barcelona. And if I were to describe my experience in one word, it would be layered.
I'm Moira. I'm from Connecticut, although I've lived a little bit all over in the States. But I spent a year in Norway in a town called Eidsvoll, which is about 35 minutes north of Oslo. And if I were to describe my exchange in one year, again, like such a hard question, but I guess I'd say transformative.
Hi, I'm Yareli. I live in Georgia. I studied abroad in Japan. I lived in Mito, which is like an hour and 40 away from Tokyo. And one word to describe my exchange experience, probably intense.
I think the number one thing, and I'm sure you've probably heard before, is just research. Like I did a lot of research into Norway, kind of just the country as what to expect as far as just like what is Norway, like what are like those kind of big components that makes Norway Norway, I guess, both culturally, as far as geography goes, socially, all of those aspects I think are super important. And then also that can kind of you can narrow that down into once you know where you will be in Norway, or sorry, in your country. When I was in Norway, I did a lot of research on like the town I lived in, just kind of pictures to kind of get an idea of what it's like, what's around the area. And that was something that helped me and kind of, I guess, made me feel more comfortable going abroad, kind of knowing kind of a little bit of what I was going to get into and like what it was going to be like where I lived.
I think for me, it was like the most formative to, reach out to my host family. My parents and I, we reached out to my host family and asked them, we're very transparent, what can we expect, and like the logistics of things. I think your host family is really important, good resource.
Stay open-minded to anything that your country like has because like it's gonna be way more different than you expect. So just stay open-minded to like whatever comes your way over there.
I think obviously like all emotions are completely normal. I definitely went through cycles both before I left and then upon arrival, kind of all the cycles, good and bad of emotions. For me, I will say I think I went in a little bit like blissfully ignorant and not necessarily in a bad way, but I think looking back, I'm like, oh, it's kind of crazy to go abroad. Like I was gone for 10 months, like to go for 10 months by yourself, but at the same time, like I think I kind of had that trust in myself. Like, and I think that's so important. Like, trust yourself. Like knowing like you already made such a big step by applying, and now you're going. And sure, it can seem scary going abroad and like making that kind of final step to actually like start your AFS journey. But at the same time, like there's just so much excitement around it, and that's so, so important to like hold on to. Like it's such a cool experience. Like you're gonna have the time of your life. And I think that was just like kind of that main thing is just that excitement going into it. And just like it's hard to say, but like try not to worry too much. Like I know like that's like the worst thing ever. But I think this just like it's gonna be great and there's gonna be challenges, but kind of just going in, having that open mind and kind of positive attitude. And like sure, I said like it's great to research kind of the area you're gonna be in, but at the same time, like go in with open expectations. Like things can be very, very different than what you were expecting, and that's okay. But kind of going in with that open mind, I think really helped me. And like that was just something that like was kind of how I like started my journey, I guess.
I had a very similar experience to that. I feel like I was very, for lack of a better word, like nonchalant going into the experience. And then I realized once I was like, oh my God, I was so like unprepared for this, but it turned out, fine, for me. But you just kind of have to have that mindset where you're just like, you're going to say, you're like, oh, okay, I'm here now, I'm doing this now, and not, worry about, oh, I thought it was going to be this, you just have to be a little bit more carefree.
I think for me, I think I had like this like fantasy of what I thought Japan was gonna be like, and then when I got there, I was like, oh, it was like not as I expected. And it's not a bad thing. I was actually pleasantly surprised with it, but it's just like don't like have certain expectations for your country. Just leave it be for when you arrive there. Like don't have this like because then you're gonna feel let down if it doesn't meet your expectations. So just come in with an open mind once again.
I went in with very little Norwegian experience. Like, it's not a very commonly taught language where I'm from. In that matter, like, it's not taught at all. So I tried to do a lot of Duolingo and kind of those online language platforms to prepare myself for going abroad. Although I will be completely frank, like I got there and I knew nothing. I thought I knew some stuff, but it was very, very different actually being in the country, especially when you're in school where it's you kind of have that more casual, conversational language use with like your peers, and then also like that professional and academic use with your teachers and kind of what you're learning in your classes. So that honestly did make it quite difficult for me. I think I had that expectation. I'm like, oh, like it's great. Norwegian's in the same language family as English, and like it should be easy to learn, and I'll be there. And like for me, that wasn't the case, and maybe that can be different for others. But I think for me, what helped the most is I just kind of took it day by day, and I just had one goal in Norwegian each day. I was like, oh, I want to try to just say good morning to one new person in Norwegian, or try to start have like one kind of smaller conversation or learn like I'm like today I'm gonna learn how to count and I'm gonna learn all the
Mm,
numbers, or I'm gonna learn the days of the week, months of the year, all of those kind of things. And I think having kind of smaller goals like that really helped my Norwegian grow. And then also like I will say one other thing for me is like I was around a lot of people that were from Germany, like exchange students from Germany, and for at least for Norwegian, German, their languages are very similar. So people pick it up faster. Some people, like I knew a couple of people from the States that already knew Norwegian. So it was way easier for them to learn than it was for me. And I think that was one thing that was hard for me to learn, but important is that everyone's gonna be on their different language journey, and some people are gonna pick it up faster. Some it's going to take a little more time, and that's completely okay. So try to kind of make sure, like, focus on your own progress and not others, and just kind of have those little goals. That's what helped me the most.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I didn't do a lot of preparation, like language preparation going into, leaving for Spain. I took, of course, like the basic beginner Spanish in school, but that really doesn't do anything. I do colors and how to count to 10. I think it's very important to have the basics. But once you get to your country, I think it's very, very important to try not to speak to people in English as much. Um, and I don't know if this is just Spain or other countries also, but like if you try to speak, their language stuff, like people get excited and they want to help you, especially, like at the beginning and in school and stuff. And your host family is a really great resource. Again, in my host family, like all of them spoke like really amazing English, but we hardly ever spoke in English, after the first 2 weeks, because, we were just like kind of trying to figure it out, and the struggle is what is when you learn the most.
I think for me, like I obviously learned like the first two alphabets for going over there, and I felt really confident about it. I was like, oh, I already know like both the alphabets. Like I just need to learn kanji, and I'm good. But then like going there and like having people like surrounding you speaking the language, like it was so. I'm gonna be honest, it was stressful. And then I had another exchange student with me at my school, and she had been studying Japanese since she was in fifth grade. So it was really like kind of depressing to see how slowly I was going compared to her. And it was like she could have conversations with our classmates, and like I was going slower and understanding what they were saying, or even like giving a response back. And that left me honestly really defeated. But like hearing like everyone say at the end of the year that they were like surprised how far I've gone in my language, and like just keep studying it, guys. Like don't let like others around you like hinder your path in like learning the language. Just keep doing your thing, whatever pace you're at. As long as you're learning it, that's something to be so like proud of yourself for. So just keep doing your thing.
Also, what Yareli was saying is like that's so true. It's so easy to be hard on yourself from like day to day. Like your language progress like it's gonna be slow day to day. But then when you look back like a month into your program, 2 months into your program from where you started, like there's such big growth, and it's so easy to be hard on yourself. And I think that's kind of the key to like not being defeated about like the language challenges in language learning is like again, progress feels slow, but you really are making a lot of progress. Like you're in the country, and that's like the best way to learn the language, no matter how hard it is. So just try not to be too hard on yourself and like look back. Like it's easy to think like, wow, I went to Norway. I did not understand a word of what anyone was saying. And now I might not always know what my teacher is talking about, but I can understand the classmates around me, and that's great. So kind of those little wins are important.
So I'm originally from Illinois, so I brought them um like a little what's it called, like a fridge magnet of the bean from Chicago, and some like jam that's like, I don't know, local, like from where I live. And I think just small souvenirs that reflect, where you're from and your experiences, or, something from your family, back home or something like that. Something that's a little bit more sentimental.
I struggled a little bit because I've moved around a lot, but New England is kind of where like my home is. So I did a dishcloth from Maine, and then I gave them up. I knew they liked puzzles, and I like puzzles too. So I did like a puzzle of like a lobster shack, which like I don't know where it's from, but it's a very New England kind of thing. So I think kind of having those little gifts or pieces of home, even though I didn't know my host parents great, just having a little something was just nice. And then I actually also brought a thing of jam, which ended up being their favorite jam. So that was great. But yeah.
I didn't bring anything from like America, or I think I brought like goldfish and like nerd gummy clusters, but I brought a bunch of candy and like chips from Mexico because I my host mom had told me she wanted to try like spicy kind of stuff because in Japan everything is so sweet. So like I brought her a bunch of spicy like chips and just candy in general. I feel like I maybe should have brought like something like a cup or something. So if I could go back, I'd probably buy something they could hold on to instead of snacks, but bring them snacks. That'd make them so happy.
I had a very unique experience. I got matched with my host family in April before leaving in August, so I had a lot of time to kind of to prepare and have that communication. So I think the biggest thing, like it's hard to remember kind of like that switch from finding out I got accepted to AFS versus then meeting my family or getting matched with my host family only like 2 months later. But kind of that anticipation and like I was like, even then I was like, oh, I can't wait to find out like who's it gonna be? And kind of that anticipation and excitement, and of course some nerves. But I think before even knowing, like it's kind of goes back to like you don't want to make expectations about who your host family is gonna be or like what it's gonna be like. So for me, I'm just like excited to just kind of figure out like what they're gonna be like, who they are, kind of do I have host siblings? Do I like how old are my parents? Like kind of host parents, like all those kind of things. So I had a lot of excitement going into anticipation. And then once I got connected, obviously like you get a whole profile, which is great. It was a great way, like I was a great match for me. So I loved kind of seeing similar interests. And then from there, just kind of, I just sent them an email. I was like, oh my gosh, like just found out. I'm gonna be your exchange student. I'm so excited to meet y'all. And then just kind of giving a little bit of more information that might not be on your application to give to them so they can get to know you better. And then also you can like I just kind of ask them some questions of like, oh, what do you normally do during the week? Or like what are common weekend activities and kind of just kind of day-to-day stuff that was great, just kind of get to know them a little bit more as well as the area that I was going to be living in, kind of from people that actually live there.
And I just remember thinking like it's very odd, because you don't interview your family or anything, or like choose your family when you're bored. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna go live with these people and I have to meet them and I'm gonna live with them. Like that's just insane. So, we did like a video call because, a lot of people like in my host family, like spoke English and all these things. And we talked a lot about, again, like our weekday and weekend activities, like what food they typically eat, all of those things that are just kind of like surface level that help you get to know them a little bit better. And that can also help you narrow down, what you want to bring for a gift. So,
For me, I actually didn't get my host family until like 2 weeks before I left. And that was like so like the most stressful thing ever because like during my program, all the kids that were going to Japan, like all the American students, we all like formed a group chat after our first Zoom meeting so we can like keep in contact with everything going on. And I remember everyone was just like, "Oh, I just got my host family." Oh, like and I was like, am I not going to be able to go to Japan if I don't get a host family? Guys, don't worry. Even if you get it like 2 weeks, a week before you leave, you're there. You're still going to go. Don't worry. So that was really like stressful for me. And then when I tried contacting my host family, they did not reply. And AFS staff tried to like get them to like connect with me, but I didn't hear anything. But I actually got along with my first host family really well. So don't worry about it if you get your host family super late.
I had the best, well, I will say. So again, everybody's experience is different. I personally had like such a great host family. I had a host mom and host dad who were actually got married the April before I got there. So that was kind of when I found out like they had been only married for like a month since or a month, and then we got matched, which was kind of crazy. But my host mom had two daughters from her previous relationship that were 1 year older and then 3 years older than me. So that was really great to have girls that are around my same age. However, neither of them lived in a house. So the first one lived in Oslo, about an hour from us, and then the other one, she initially was alternating between like my house, like her mom's house, and her dad's, but then ended up switching full time to like her dad slash friend's apartment. So for me, like when I found that out, I was a little worried that that was like a me thing, which it wasn't. But kind of having that communication open, like I'm still super close with both my host sisters, so that was great, even though we didn't live together. But I think the thing that made those relationships so important, like so strong for me, was just kind of having that constant communication from like I talked to them right when I got matched, and then once we got there, we had conversations about one, like kind of just basic house rules are just so important to have those kind of house norms, family norms, kind of ground rules for like you are part of their family. They might not be your literal family, but you are living with them and you need to follow their rules. So kind of having that conversation about what are their expectations for me as a member of the household, and I have friends, but what time do I need to be home at night? Or if I'm going to go out with friends, like do I like make sure I let my host parents know and stuff like that, as well as also just kind of expectations for or hopes and goals for the experience of like me as exchange student, like what I wanted out of the program, and then my host parents, like as a host family, like what they were hoping for out of the program, because as much of it as it's your experience, it's also theirs. So I think that was really great of kind of seeing where our goals aligned and trying to make sure that we were both or all of us were all parties were like enjoying the experience. I think was super helpful. Just kind of having that open communication, which just really made my connection with them so strong. So I love my host family so much. I was actually there for spring break and visited them, which was great. But yeah, just communication is key, and I think that's the route to kind of having a great experience.
I had a pretty similar like host family structure. Like host mom and host dad. And then they had like one son who is like, 30 or something and, lived away. And I had a host sister that was a year older than me and one that was in the same grade as me, who also like, went to my school, but we didn't have the same classes. So we were very close. And host siblings are like an amazing resource, to get to know people and branch out, your friend groups and meet amazing people. And you can learn a lot about the culture and like what shows and like pop culture media things and slang, like all of that kind of thing. It's really awesome. And I totally agree with Moira, like communication, like over communication, honestly, don't assume anything, explicitly ask.
For me, I had two different host families. My first one I stayed with for like I think 3 months, and it was like my host mom, my host dad, and I had three older siblings. But I never met my siblings, and I only met my host dad once because he worked in Hiroshima. So I was with my host mom all the time, but she worked like until like 10, so I didn't see her that much either. Um, but my second host family, it was my host mom, my host dad, and I had two little siblings. So it was like completely different from my first one. And I think it's just because I spent like more months with my second host family, but I really enjoyed my time with my second host family. I love both my host families, but I think it's just that like longer time I spent with them, I it just made the experience so much better. Actually, I came to get this. They made me this book before I left. That's my host. I'm planning on visiting February for my classmates' graduation. They're just such like your host family is just like it's your family. Just try to get along with them. Don't cause any trouble. Like what the other two said. Like please communicate with everything. Like if you switch host families, like talk about it once again. Like you will never know like what mentality each person has. So just like make sure you communicate that properly. So in Japan, like families share like how do I like bath water? Like I don't know how to say that
Hmm.
like I don't know like the proper saying for that, but like they preserve the water like each time someone showers. So like you would wash your body and then you would get in the bath. And I tried that like my first month, but I just like couldn't. It's just something I'm not used to, and I talked to my first host family about it, and she was a little adamant about me still like going in the bath. It's not like she was forcing me, but she was like encouraging me to use the bath. My second host family, like I went into like the host family telling them like, hey, I'm not like really comfortable like bathing. Like if it's cool if I can just like shower, and they're like, oh yeah, it's cool. So like sharing that was a little interesting. It was a little difficult, but they were super understanding about it. So that's one of the things.
I had a little bit, there's a little bit of difference. They had a very huge family, and the Spaniards are very, very, very social people. Right? So it was like every Saturday or Sunday or whatever, like we'd have like this huge, family lunch and all these things. And at the beginning, I feel like I felt very obligated to go to all of their family events and, meet all these people and be present, all these things. But it was super, super draining. So that was also a lot of communication with my host family, be like, okay, I'm going to stay at home and study like on Saturday, or I'm going to go, to this amusement park with my friends and just kind of, it's good to not always be around your host family because you want to also like talk to other people and get the experiences to other people. So I think there should be like a little bit of, separation and independence there.
One thing for me was just kind of like household chores. So it's kind of different where like I had one host sister who initially spent some time at that house, but for most of my time it was just me and my host parents. So I had my own bathroom, like obviously as expected to clean all of that stuff. But then there'd be like other like random things that like I would like do sometimes. Like my host mom would like do my laundry, and like I know it's like that sounds like I'm not like complaining because like hey, I don't mind not having to do my laundry, but like kind of like those different things like that where it's like obviously like I was cleaning my bathroom, I was the only one using it, but I'm like, well, I'm also the only one using my clothes, like I can do my clothes, but some stuff like that, like we didn't have a dryer in the house, so it was like you wash it and then you put it on the racks, like there's kind of and there's like just certain parts where it's like our washer was just old, so like they were like stricter on like how you wash your clothes, if that makes sense. Like random things like that, like really like not a big deal. Like it's not necessarily a cultural thing, but just like within the family, it was different of kind of having those stricter things. I think are great, and that was why it's important. Like we talked kind of very early on about again like those household expectations and like where you're expected to chip in and like where you're not necessarily like. We had three cats, but honestly, I don't think I ever touched the litter box. Like that was just like something
Mm.
like I grew up like having no pets and I loved the cats, but like just kind of differences there. They're very flexible, but just kind of going over those rules and expectations for what it's like for your own chores, cleaning, and other stuff like that, I think was just important for me to have because I don't know, it was just kind of random little things, but they just different.
Host family at the beginning, like I felt a little bit more like a guest because we didn't have like a set, this person's going to do this chores and you clean this, that kind of thing. And they never really like told me to do anything. So it was like my host sisters were like unloading the dishwasher and all these things. But I think it's really important to, just like kind of get a vibe, or if it's like if you see something that's dirty or something that needs to be picked up, like if you just kind of do it, you put yourself out there because they don't want to like some host families, they're like they don't really want to tell you what to do because it feels like you're a guest in their house. But I think it's really important to, make yourself not a guest anymore.
I'm not gonna lie, like I kind of had a hard time at school at first, and part of that is a cultural thing, like at least in Norway and all of like Scandinavian countries and like Germany as well, people can be very closed off at first and it can be hard to get to know people, both like classmates and just like people on the streets, like small talk does not exist. So it's kind of hard for me
Mm.
to like make friends, I guess, of just especially like coming from like the American experience where like when I've had like exchange students, I feel like coming to the States, like people are like super open and so excited. And I was kind of going back to this whole ex like trying not to have expectations because that was one thing. Like I went in open-minded, but part of me also kind of expected that people were like, "Oh my God, like so cool! Like come sit with us, come sit with us." And like sure, there were some people like that, but at the same time, like it really took a long time for me to have like build like strong friendships again, just because a lot of people like at least in my school, like they grew up like they've known each other since day one, like since kindergarten, like they've been on the same sports teams for 10 plus years, like they're in the same classes every year, like, kind of all of those things. And it can be hard to kind of like infiltrate that in a sense of like kind of like joining a friend group, like when they're like, oh, we have our friends, like we're okay, especially when you don't know the language. And I think that was my biggest insecurity is like a lot of people spoke English, but I also kind of like I didn't want to like be only speaking English or relying on that to get around. And it was difficult when I didn't know a lot of Norwegian. But I think kind of for me, it's just like at the end of the day, like you can use the excuse that you're like I use the excuse that I was an exchange student all the time. And like if you mess up, like don't be afraid. And it kind of goes back to language. Like don't be afraid just to try. Like they were happy speaking English, but I really wanted to speak Norwegian. But then I was like, whoa, like I don't know much Norwegian. Like what do I do? But I'm like, you know what? I'm an exchange student. Like I'm only here 10 months. Like I'm learning. Like it's okay like to make mistakes. And I think that was a big thing for me that made it easier, like when it feels awkward, like trying to make friends when people already have their friends, and just like say hi to people, just be friendly. Like, I think that helps so much of just kind of having like that positive attitude, even though it took some time to make friends, having or like asking like the person next to you like for help in class if you didn't understand something, or like you're like, oh, like what are we doing like right now? I'm not really sure, like that. So, first of all, normal, completely okay to do. And
Mm.
also that was how I made friends. Like one of my closest friends in Norway was like one girl that I had in class, and it was like the first class. It was like a special day and we had like guest speakers and we were going to a different room and all this stuff, and I was so confused because I'm like, this is day one. And she helped me out, and then like now here we are later, like best friends. I think that's just so important. Like don't be afraid to ask for help. Just because you don't have those connections from day one or week one doesn't mean they're not going to come, they're not going to form. So just don't be afraid to put yourself out there as well.
Different experience with like Norwegians, and a lot of northern and eastern Europe is like very closed off, and for me that was like the exact opposite experience. Like the first 2 week of school is just like so many people just like bombarding with like questions, and they were so interested and they wanted to practice their English, and all of these things. But I think also like the first 2 weeks or like first month is like the most important, for making connections in your class, and all of these things, because you're still new and like interesting and stuff, and you want to kind of like milk that and you milk the exchange student and like, oh, like American, that's so cool. And like you build all these conversations and you like meet people in your class, and again like you ask for help. Like again, one of my, like you were saying, one of my closest friends from Spain is like the girl who like the teacher assigned to show me around the school on the first day. Like it's really important. Yeah, and also like just like with the curriculum and stuff, like Spanish school, I think is like in the bottom of like European school. Like it's not very difficult compared to, the rest of Europe, which I'm sure is very different from Norway. So it was like very unserious, and like people don't really have like a lot of like respect for the teachers and stuff. And it was very much more like a social thing. So it really depends on what country you're in. But like for me, it was a lot easier to like make friends at school than I would think like, other countries.
It was like a mix of like what you two said. Like for the first 2 weeks, everyone was hyped that an American was coming to their school, and then like in Japan, like there's a stereotype that everyone's like super shy, and that is true. Like everyone is so shy. So it was really hard, and like just not knowing the language made it a little like more difficult. I think like my first like fourth month in, I think like I was so stressed, and I'm not trying to like scare you guys when I say this, but I was so stressed to the point like where I cried at school. Like and I had an English teacher, and she pulled me to the side and she was like, "Hey, like you could talk to me in English, like tell me what's wrong." And I just like started complaining to her, and I felt bad like complaining to her about like being there, but I was like, "Oh, I just can't do it anymore. I feel like I like I don't belong here." And she was like, "Hey," like she just like made it so much better. I still talk to her. Like I think the people there makes like such a difference, and like can really like push you to like wanting to stay there. I think once I had that talk with her, that really like changed my mindset. I started talking to everyone more and like trying to put myself out there. My first 4 months, I didn't talk to anyone, and I really regret that because I feel like I could have done so much more if I put myself out there. But like it didn't stop me from like continuing to try to form like bonds with my classmates and everything. And I tried to do clubs, like that really puts you out there. Do clubs, like sports, like just do anything to get you in the community. Like you know what I mean?
If someone invites you to like go get coffee or to hang out with their friend group, like say yes, like because they're really trying to branch that out. But also like you were saying with the English teachers, like also my English teacher, like she was very like accommodating and very helpful, like what Moira was saying. And so like I got a lot of opportunities, to go speak to other classes, about, like my experience like in the United States and like that kind of culture thing. And, for the different like American holidays, like I gave a presentation about Thanksgiving, to my class, and it's just very interesting. And a lot of times, they won't have you do, or like this was like the experience with a lot of other my friends also. Like you don't do as much of the coursework if you're required to take an English class. Like you're just helping, like the other people in your class, and that's like really great to meet people.
Homesickness, like it is so normal. Like, yes, I love my time in Norway. I could talk on and on about all my great experiences, but I definitely had a lot of homesickness, and like that is totally normal, especially around the holidays. And I'd say probably like Thanksgiving, honestly, like I'm like I love food, so like in that sense I love Thanksgiving, but like I never really thought of it being like a super important holiday for me. But like honestly, that was one of the harder holidays for me when I was in Norway because obviously it's not celebrated. And like we did a lot of Christmas stuff, like it's common to celebrate Christmas in Norway, but Thanksgiving is such a thing like where I'm always with family and all this stuff and like it just doesn't exist in Norway. So one thing for help for me is like I made a lot of American foods. Like in for the Thanksgiving example, like I made a Thanksgiving dinner and honestly like it was exhausting. It was one of the hardest things I did in Norway because I made like 16 different dishes and we had like 20 people over and like invited all of my extended like Norwegian family like host family over, which was like this like whole crazy thing and honestly like it was a bit much. Like I probably shouldn't have done all of that. But at the same time like it's a great way to like share like my culture, which then also made me like obviously like you want to learn about your host country's culture, but your host family like they want to learn about your own culture. And that honestly helps with my homesickness is like sharing about stuff that's important to me. Like I remember the two dishes that I made when I was abroad that like I mean I made a lot of stuff from home, but the two things I made it was like an apple crisp, like apple crumble for Thanksgiving. And then when I made my dad's like mac and cheese, those are the two recipes and like I ate it and it tasted like home. That reminds you of home and like that's so important, like sharing that with your host family because then my host family loved that mac and cheese, and I made it three more times when I was there. And then I'm like, it's a taste of home every time. And that was something super helpful for me. And then also just have communication with home. Like, sorry, I'm like talking a lot. But like, I know like we talk a lot about the importance of being present in your host country and in your host family and friends and stuff. And that is so true. Like, that is so, so important. But like it is okay to talk to your family too. Like I honestly like I feel like a lot of people in my year like they didn't talk to their families much, but I love my family. I was like I need to talk to my family because like I miss them obviously. And like that's normal. You're gone for a long time. So kind of having like I would kind of touch base like once a week and like we'd have like like we wouldn't always talk for a long time, but even just a quick phone call, like a quick update or like see how it's going or when you have a bad day, like it's okay to just like be like, hey, I just need to call my family. Like I just need to call my mom. I need to call my sister, call my best friend, whoever it may be. Like that is totally okay. And like you don't want to rely on it, over rely on it because then you want to stay present in your host country because if you're talking to people back home too much, I feel like it makes it worse. But then kind of having that balance of like again, like it is okay to talk to people both in your host country, like your host family, tell them how you're feeling, but also like talk to your family back home. Like that's okay.
Yeah, a lot of my exchange friends, got like very, homesick and all of these things. And I feel like I never really got that homesick, which is really odd. I feel like I talk to my family, like every couple of days or like once a week or like once every 2 weeks, of a phone call or something like that. But I don't know. I was so busy and, like all of these things. And I was very, integrated into my host family. So I didn't get too homesick, but a lot of friends that did. And I think like a main issue is that, I know like talking to your family and stuff is very good, but they like became like way too dependent, like on their family from back home and complaining about their host family, to their family back home and calling them, all the time. And they weren't having a good time, they were at home or, like, all these things. So I think it's really important to have like a social life outside of your host family and have friends, that you can talk to and all these things. And also like the other like AFS people that are like also in your same host country that you see at like the orientations and stuff are such an amazing resource because they're literally going through the exact same thing. Like I would go and have, like lunch or something with other people who are like in my cohort and like go talk to them about, their experiences. And sometimes like you just realize like, oh, it's like not actually that bad, like everyone else is going through the same thing. Like this is completely normal. So I think a lot of it is just kind of like grounding yourself and be like, okay, like this is what it's happening, but maybe it's not, as bad.
Like I relied on my teachers a lot and then the exchange students in my city a lot. Like my exchange students especially like a lot. Like um don't be afraid to like talk to them either. Like they are like what Chloe said, they're experiencing the same thing and if they're not, like they can just be there for support. Like one of my best friends, Hine, like she was an exchange student. And it's gonna sound like I'm crying a lot while I'm over there. It only happened twice, but like I, I started crying again during like an AFS event, and she just took me outside and she like reassured me. She was like, "Hey, like stick it out for like one more month. Like you're gonna regret it if you leave. Like and if you really do feel like you need to leave, like no one's stopping you. Like you can leave." But I'm so glad like I had that conversation with her too because like if I left, I would have regretted it so bad. So like talk to people and like know it's okay to like not know or to like mess up. Like when my host family was like supporting me and all that stuff, that made me like that took a weight off my shoulders. Like there was an expectation for me to be like this perfect exchange student. Like I'm like human, I can make mistakes. I don't have to know the language. I don't have to be in tune with the culture. As long as I'm being like open to learning it, I think that's what like really mattered to them.
Part of it also is like at the end of your exchange year, like time flies the entire tr time. So like that's one thing. Like that is so true. Everyone says it. It might not feel like it at first or in those hard times, but time flies by. And like that, my last month in Norway, like I swear was like 2 days. Like it went by so quick. So I was with my friends all the time, like hanging out with everyone, really trying both with my friend, like I always try to say yes during my exchange program. I think that's so important. If like when people ask you if you want to do something, say yes. Whether it's something you've done before or something you might not be as comfortable with, say yes, because like those experiences are so, so important to your exchange. So I think kind of that building up, like kind of being more comfortable saying yes to everything, and then also kind of building those stronger friendships. And like, I really want to hang out with you before we leave. Like, let's do something. Like, let's grab coffee. Let's go into the city, whatever that may be. Like that was something that was important for me, especially at the end of maximizing that quality time you have with your host family, your friends, honestly, the friends that become family, like all of those people, just maximize your time there. And that was something that I did a lot of my end. And so, so glad I did because they're truly still such a big part of my life. And I'm so glad I was able to have that quality time with them. Honestly, the hardest part of the program for me, like I had ups and downs with my exchange program, but honestly, for the most part, like I had a great time. Like I had those hard times, but the hardest time for me throughout my entire exchange experience was readjusting. And I think part of it, like you have such an incredible, life-changing, transformative experience, and it can be really hard to come back, both reverse culture shock of you, like especially like you're at least saying, like I don't know, like you probably didn't go back to American school and like try to clean a classroom, but like kind of the things that you become accustomed to in your host country that are not normal here, like kind of readjusting back to being like, oh, like I don't need to clean a classroom, or oh, like I can talk to people on the streets and they're not gonna look at me like I have three heads. Like kind of those adjustments, but then also like, it's hard when people don't understand your experience. Like, I went back, I spent essentially my senior year abroad in during my exchange year, so then kind of coming back, I went to college instead of going back to high school. But then kind of still going in, I'm like, I just had this incredible 10 months. Like, so much happened. I've changed so much as a person, kind of socially, emotionally, physically, everything. And nobody understands what I'm going through. And that was hard for me. I kind of felt alone in that. But the biggest thing that helped me was just talking about it. And like people joke about it, but like it's so true. Once you go through an exchange year, like it becomes your entire personality. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Like that's fine by me. I talk about it all the time, but that was like the most important thing to me to kind of keep like to help that adjustment and like keep in contact with your friends from abroad, keep in contact with your host family. I was literally just talking to them this morning, and that's like so helpful of like that readjustment of don't try to pretend it didn't happen because like it can feel like people move on to their life and for them like nothing happened, but for you a lot changed. And kind of give yourself grace in that process, especially those first couple months back can be so difficult. And like this is something I could talk about for literally a full hour, so I'll like stop after this like quick little thing. But again, like it's so normal and it's a lot to go through both going abroad and coming back. And just remember, like, you're not alone in this. Like, your exchange, like all the other exchange students that went with you, like, you guys go through that experience together. They're a great resource when you are abroad, but also when you come home, like, they're all going back to their own countries and they're all kind of struggling with that thing of, like, oh my gosh, I had this incredible year and now, like, I'm gone. Like, what is happening? So, like, don't be afraid to, like, talk to others about it, both that were on that experience with you and people at home, so you can teach them about, like, what you learned about.
For me, the most difficult part was coming back, to having like the same, like friends and family and all of these things. And I like switched schools afterwards, so it was just like that summer. But it was definitely weird because it feels like, I went away and, like all of these things changed. I'm like a completely different person. And I come back and everyone else is like exactly the same. Nothing has changed. And that's the most difficult part. And I feel like I definitely like lost like a couple of friends, because my personality was, just different, like and where, my values lie and all of those kind of things. And like, if you're talking to your friends and stuff, they just want to pick up where it left off, and they don't really care as much. I mean, depending on the person, but it's like, oh, okay, cool. I don't understand it. Like what Moira was saying, like I don't understand it. So, whatever, let's continue. That was like definitely the most difficult part. But I think a lot of it, like what Moira was saying, is, just like kind of communication and understanding, like their point of view and being like, oh, okay, like she was just gone, but now she's back, do I treat her, the same, like that kind of thing. This is gonna sound really cliche, but literally just put yourself out there, try everything, don't say no to anything. And communication. Like that's literally everything you need. Other than that, like a lot of it, I mean, it just happens, but also like life comes, like from you, like not at you. Like things aren't happening to you, you create, your own narrative and all of these things. So a lot of it is really just up to your perspective.
Say yes to all the opportunities that come your way. Keep that open mind. Like remember, like your experience abroad is your experience and try not to compare to others. I know it's so hard, but like I remember like it is your path and like it is what you make it. So if you're gonna like stay home all the time, like you're not gonna obviously have all these crazy experiences that some of your friends might have. But at the same time, like again, like it's kind of yeah, like you create your experience abroad. So you get in what you put out of it. So just kind of say yes to everything, have fun. Like you guys are really just gonna have the best time ever, and I'm so excited for all of you.
Make mistakes. You honestly learn from them. Try things you normally wouldn't try here. I mean, you're there for what, like the semester or for a year? Like, why not? No one's gonna like it's not gonna affect you because you don't live there. So just try new things while you're over there that you wouldn't normally try here, or like food you wouldn't normally eat. Like just try while you're over there. Like, what's the harm in doing that? So I think you guys to like just be open to everything. You guys are gonna have a great experience. Just have fun. Don't like have all these negative thoughts about it. It's okay if you do, but like just try to enjoy it as much as possible because it'll like fly by for real.